Hello everyone, my name is Cyrus Hojadi. About a couple of years ago, I made a video regarding an investment forecaster and the chief of AVA, which is Mike Stathis. And in that video, I made some points about him that many people took it as bashing him, criticizing him, making false statements, and as a result, many of the users on YouTube who are fans of his services are threatening to sue me. And I just want to point out that just because I give criticism, just because I'm curious and I see some things not adding up, does not necessarily mean I'm entirely trying to bash the individual. Okay? And before I begin, given the fact that many of the people who watched my video from a couple of years ago, back in 2014, to make sure that you are not necessarily misinformed, I just want to point out that this video, along with that last video, I don't really see it. I didn't want it to view it as some kind of bashing video. Certainly, I've given some criticism. And in case I've given this individual and his firm a hard time, I just want to apologize, because I want to point out that I didn't do enough to talk about the good information and the good content that you provided, because I didn't want to make my video super long. And I want to appreciate a lot of what you've done. Certainly, you've done a lot of great things. But the point of the video, I think a lot of people misunderstood, was not to necessarily bash or twist his track record. The point of the video was to prove that despite that he's got many calls right, where I believe it's pretty good, but probably not as great as say it is, it's to prove that I don't believe that the public should waste their money to buy his services, because I don't think it's worth it. And I believe sincerely that his tone, his strategy, his marketing is not good. And not to mention his glim, doom, and gloom view of society. I don't think that's working. Now, before I begin, just because I criticize you, or I feel suspicious, or I criticize you, does not mean I'm actually making a solid point. I'm just making assumptions, and I'm just asking questions. I'm just giving my curiosity. And this is just things that I believe or I see. All right? And I'm going to go a little bit further than that. But first of all, I like to point out that you, sir, have done a lot of great things. You've made a lot of good calls. You've talked about how that we were going to have an economic crash in the late 2000s. Fannie, Freddie, the stock market was going to tumble. Short the mortgage-backed securities. You've talked about how it was an appropriate time to buy the stock market later on. You've talked about that how commodities was going to have a run, and how later on it was important to get rid of your precious metal type investments. And certainly you've got a lot of things right. I'm not going to deny that. You've got a lot of interesting calls. But just because on the video where I kind of read some things that were not adding up too well, doesn't mean I was making a claim. I just feel as if that, especially how you present yourself as you know everything, you certainly have to be worshipped or something. Maybe perhaps I feel as if that I've got to see things in a more suspicious way, and perhaps he probably has some holes in his argument. And going back to your 2009 stock market forecast, certainly, yeah, I guess you did call the bottom of the stock market, but then how do you explain that in a part of our article you said that it's going to go down to 4,800? So I don't understand. What was your point exactly? See, I'm just curious. I'm just kind of questioning things about what you do. Because maybe that instead of you guys seeing him as 95% accurate, I probably see him as 85% accurate. And just because I see him a little less accurate probably, well, does not mean that I'm trying to bash him entirely. You guys are, some of you at least, are viewing things and my points of view as glass half empty. And going back to the 2015 and 16, I think I read, and I could be wrong, and I just want to clarify, I just want to make sure that based on what I said 2 years ago, you guys don't misunderstand me, that he said that the bull market was going to come to an end. Now, many of his users said, well, that's not a claim, that's not a forecast, this is just what he feels. Okay. But the question is, why would he put that, though? That's the thing. So maybe there could be some errors in his argument. Now, the point of the video is that it's not mainly on his track record. Now, speaking of track record, did he get the 1987 stock market crash? Did he get the 2000 dot-com bubble crash? Did he get the crash in the 2014-15 oil market? I want to know. Somebody tell me. I'm just asking questions. I'm not making a claim. And I don't want to keep parroting myself because there's a lot of people out there who watch these videos, they twist my words around, and they say, oh, well, no, you're actually making a statement and you're trying to smear him and you're a liar, you're a con artist. But I'm not trying to be a con artist. I'm just trying to ask some questions. Okay? So, the point of the video is that, once again, it's not about the fact that whether your track record is great or not. Because let's be fair, you got at least a great number of things. Most, I'm not exactly sure, but a great number of things correctly. And you're certainly better than many other people I know who talk about financial forecasting. But the point of the video is not the track record. The point of the video is to prove that I specifically believe, because your work, your efforts have influenced me a lot. And I've talked about that in the previous video, and I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Thank you for opening my mind up. But I just don't believe that it's worth the price. That's all I'm saying. It's very simple. You can argue that, well, a Rolls Royce is a nice car, or a Bentley. But I don't think it's worth spending the kind of money. It's very simple. You charge hundreds and thousands of dollars for your services. I don't think it's worth it. And you know why? Despite that you get many of your calls right? Because my investment strategy and many others, and I think many should follow, is very simple. Stay away from the media. Do your own research. Look at economic forecasting, price-earnings ratio. Look at the fundamentals, the technicals of the general stock market, the indices, Dow Jones, S&P, NASDAQ composite. Get into those ETFs and trade in the long run. And then get out 1 or 2 years once or so when the markets begin to tumble. That's my strategy. And finding out when to get in, when to get out, you don't need to spend this kind of money and buy his services. That's all my point was. But what you guys did is you guys took my words and viewed him as like, I'm trying to bash him. Like I'm trying to bring him down the gutter. That's what you told me to do. And this again is to me, I just think of it as, I'm very not, how can I point out, comfortable speaking in public because just the way people are nowadays. Now, the real issue that I have with Stathis, the curiosity, the concern, not problem, not necessarily a horrible thing about Mike Stathis, is not about his financial services. It is mainly about his view on society. And that's just what I want to know. That's what I'm really curious about. My curiosity is, what is your view on society? Because this is the thing. I see your videos. Now, I will say this. Let me give you a lot of credit. You have a lot of good points. You talk about how, yes, it's true. We've got con artists out there. Peter Schiff, Gerald Celente. We have people like perhaps Mark Faber. We have people like Mike Maloney, Chris Duane. They could be salespeople. They're idiots or whatever. They've got horrible track records. And then on the other side, you've got these perma bulls like Jim Cramer, James Altucher. They're the people that keep saying, keep staying in the stock market, keep staying in the gold market. Dollar is going to collapse. They have very, very miserable track records. And you do a pretty good job explaining that. I'm not going to deny that. But the thing is, just because that they have miserable or wrong track records doesn't mean you have to spend a lot of money buying the research from Stathis. You don't need to do that. And by the way, there are many others who have better track records than Peter Schiff, like Mike Maloney, which Mike Maloney is a guy you praised in some of his points, and you shared many of his videos. But I will say this, Mike Norman, he's gotten some things wrong. And I just want to refer that to the comments made in the video 2 years ago. But still, Mike Norman has gotten many calls correct, for the record. But nevertheless, I don't rely on many of these people to get my forecasting. Now, speaking of the financial forecasting, you also talk about, well, we have not only con artists in the financial system, or in terms of investments, reliability, and everything else, but there are con jobs in a lot of things in our society. You talk about how there are con jobs being done in our political system, our media, a lot of things in society. And there's a tiny elite that runs everything. They're deceiving us. They're playing games with us. And that's very, very understandable. And I appreciate you. I applaud you for doing that. The thing is, though, that you seem to believe that the real elephant in the room, the reason why a lot of things are screwed, is the so-called Jewish mafia. Now, what are my views about the Jewish mafia, or this claim? First of all, it is true. Okay? We do have a situation where Jews are 2% of the population in the U.S., and they're more than 2% of politicians, CEOs, and media personnel. And that makes very, very sense. And I'm aware about that. I'm open to listening to more truth. The thing about that argument, and certainly I'm understandable about the Zionist regime, Israel, a lot of these different things. Nevertheless, there's a lot of individuals and groups that have pointed out that that claim is misleading because it's leaving out a lot of other groups or a lot of powerful interests that are also having a lot of influence. And that is one of them being the Jesuit Vatican structure. Now, I know you've made an audio debunking that claim, but Mr. Stathis, how do you explain the Knights of Malta? How do you explain the Club of Rome? How do you explain the Reformation that we had 500-600 years ago? See, he doesn't talk about this stuff. And again, once again, I'm not trying to bash your claim. But when I look out in the real world, when I do my own investigation, the thing is that there are some clues that I'm finding out that proves that one of the things that you're pointing out probably doesn't make any sense. So just answer these questions. And speaking of the track record, is there a third-party agency to review what you do? Do you have proof that you've executed certain trades? We want to know. We just want to see your cards into the table. We're not necessarily calling you a fraud or a con man or saying that you are somebody who is a dangerous person. I'm just asking you questions. I'm just giving you curiosity. And I know I'm repeating this over and over and over again. But again, a lot of these viewers who are watching, they're taking my words and they're twisting it around. So I have to keep repeating it to make myself very, very clear. And, the thing is that you have this thing called the Encyclopedia of Con Man, of frauds, and everything else. And sure, a lot of that is true. There's a lot of con man out there. But here's the problem with that encyclopedia, or the problem with this thing that you do. My concern that I have. Concern, excuse me. Suspicious. Not problem, forgive me. Is there any good person that you like? Because Mike Stathis, this really doesn't make any sense. There are 7.5 billion people on this earth. And you do not point out that there's one person, maybe, I don't know, some people like William Pierce, maybe a couple of others, but you don't have a lot of people to share the whether or not they're good people or not. All you do is just bash everybody and just push yourself up. But you cannot say that there's probably no good people that we can rely on. Because there's 7.5 billion people on this earth. Are all these 7.5 billion people on this earth, are they all idiots? Are they all con men? Are they all connected to the Jewish establishment? There's got to be some good people. So this is where I think that a lot of the things that you do, your view on society, is not adding up too well, as it seems. Because how do we know who's a reliable person? Is my neighbor across the street, next door, is he connected to the Jewish mafia? How do we know? How do we know? How do we know our local council member is not connected to it? See, and this is the thing that you have to understand. So, does he give you any good people to follow? Does he give any people that we can support? Businesses that we can rely on, buy goods and services? Politicians that we can raise money so we can get things done? Because there has to be good people given the size and the population on this earth. Because the so-called Jew mafia cannot control every single person, except for himself, Mr. Stathis, and everybody who subscribes to his research. Now, then again, in that encyclopedia of con man and salespeople or whatever, I believe you have David Duke and Richard Spencer. This is where I kind of got very critical about a few years ago. Because David Duke has been giving out a lot of good information. You've been talking for many years. The so-called ethnic cleansing of white people, the Zionist Jewish establishment. So I don't understand how he can be a con man. Is he really a con man, or are you just doing it because you want to bash everybody and you want to make yourselves look better? And what about Richard Spencer? He's a guy actually I spoke to on the phone, believe it or not. And you say he's a con man. But again, sure, you can argue he is a con man. He's controlled opposition. But the problem is that Stathis, you have to understand that there's a lot of people who are waking up. You can't look at everything glass empty. People are waking up that white people are being cleansed, potentially, and that we have all these problems in society. Many of the you've been talking about for many, many years. So there is awareness that's going on. And similar can be said about Alex Jones. I mean, certainly Alex Jones has a lot of issues. There's no question about it. But then again, he has a lot of good truths to share. And he is eye-opening to a certain level. But this is the problem with Mike Stathis. And this is the heart of my concern with this individual. Is that we listen to him on his audio and his videos. He's angry he has this loud tone. He calls everybody out. He curses at them. But at the end of the day, what do you have to offer to society? What can we do as a society so we know how to go on in the real world? Who do we trust? How do we fight this so-called Jewish establishment? What do we do? Does he offer any solution? Does he have any activism? What does he do? See, this is the thing. And I'm not trying to bash him. But when I look at his work and I think twice, something is not adding up right. Okay? And if he's not doing any activism, if he's not offering at least us any toolkit to fight this global establishment, well then, what do we do? Other than listening you rant and buy your research. What do we do? We don't just let the crap hit the fan. What other outlets do we listen to get updated about the news? Where do we put our money? What services do we buy? How do we know that when we go in the real world, we know how to deal with the elements and the reality? But this is the thing. He doesn't offer community-based organizations for us to get things done. So, as far as I know, he doesn't offer any tools or any solutions to defeat the so-called Jewish mafia. And just think about it. What is he offering you at the end of the day? It's kind of funny because, now it's true that your track record is much better than Peter Schiff, and I get that. And certainly what you have has higher value than him. But in a way, Stathis and Peter Schiff is kind of similar because his followers listen to him, it seems like, to everything that he says and he does. So at this point, if Mike Stathis just takes a dump in the street, his followers will say, oh, well, he's doing the right thing. And it's kind of similar because literally his followers will buy any of his research or what he has to offer. And just like Peter Schiff, they both have doom and gloom. Now, Mike Stathis does not have doom and gloom economic and financial predictions, but he has doom and gloom view of society. Everybody sucks in this world. Everybody's an idiot. Everybody's a con man. And the entire world has to listen to me, and you have to buy my research. This is what I'm getting. I could be wrong, but this is kind of the message I'm getting from you. And I don't think that the whole 7.5 billion people on this earth is an idiot or a con man. So this is kind of the thing. And I just believe that your tone, your strategy is not making any sense to me, at least. And I think it's not making sense to a lot of people. And I wouldn't be surprised that you're losing a lot of followers as a result. I mean, your website design, it's kind of complicated. There are all these like pop-ups and everything. It's certainly not helping, at least to people like me. But then again, I just wanted to point out that this individual, there's a lot of groups that he doesn't criticize. He criticizes the mainstream media, he criticizes alternative media, whether it's Alex Jones or the Young Turks, many other groups. But I've noticed, and I've talked about this in my previous video, and I've even tried to reach them, and I said, why don't you do a video about the Zeitgeist movement? Now, those of you who don't know who the Zeitgeist movement and the Venus Project and the resource-based economy is, they advocate so that the jobs will be taken by technology. We have post-scarcity. Our goods can be shared, and we're not going to need the monetary system. Now, their documentaries have got tens of millions of views, and I'm surprised that Mike Stathis has not talked about them. And they have a lot of popularity. So there are some groups and organizations that are so-called alternative, which, by the way, Peter Joseph, the founder of the movement, has been interviewed by Russia Today, Alex Jones, and so forth. And he has not talked about it. Why? Maybe, could it be because the movement is a threat to what his organization, Mike Stathis, does? Or maybe he doesn't know about it? But either way, I think he should support the movement. Because without a monetary system, then the so-called Jews will not have the money and power for the campaign finance and everything to increase power, to change our laws, to manipulate our society with the wars, the banking fraud, the massive immigration, everything else, to walk all over us. And maybe he should support it, but he doesn't. Why? Think about that. Research the Zeitgeist movement. So anyway, the point of the video that I just want to make is that I appreciate a lot of what you've done. I want to thank you for all the efforts and everything you've done. It's enlightened me. I appreciate it. I apologize that maybe there was some information that I was supposed to get out that I didn't. I don't know, maybe I was having a rough day or something. Who knows? But you've done a lot of good things. You've certainly brought a lot of good information to the public, including myself. And at the end of the day, I don't appreciate the comments that were dumped in that video, making a lot of accusations about me that I'm lying, because I really don't want to lie. And if I'm incorrect, just let me know. I'll make another YouTube follow video about, and if you give me evidence and support, I'll think about it. But the fact is that you guys, many of these users have done a lot of dumping and made a lot of, I guess you guys are making false accusations about me. Many of you called me Jewish. I'm not Jewish. I'm Iranian American, born in the USA. And many of you say, oh, well, I'm living in my parents' house. Well, this is not my parents' house. That last video was in my mom's house, actually. But this is not my parents' house. This is my unit in Las Vegas by Summerlin South, a pretty nice area. And certainly, you guys should be impressed that a 26-year-old is able to afford to live in an area like that. And if you don't believe that, well, guess what? Let me cover up my address because I don't want to show that. This is my inspection form for my unit. This is my name, Cyrus Hojadi. And you can see here, this is the list. So I have my own place. I'm taking care of myself. I don't have any roommates. So don't make these unnecessary accusations about me. Really? And honestly, I'm asking you politely, please don't put a lawsuit into the table. It's just, in my opinion, reckless, irresponsible. And what are you going to do? What are you going to get out of it? You want to ruin some young person's life who may have not done the things that you wished that I was supposed to do when I was 19 or 21 years old, who's just new in the financial world. Certainly, people that young probably don't understand the laws too well. And again, these laws that you guys are bringing up, they're not even like have to do with theft or violent crime or anything like that. Now, I was just trying to learn about the financial markets, but you're threatening me with lawsuit. What are you going to do? Now, if you threaten me with lawsuit and you guys win, I can't afford this place anymore. I'm going to have to move back with my mom. And certainly my goals of making a difference here in Las Vegas, because speaking about making a difference, I'm doing a lot to contribute to society. I haven't seen that from you, Mike Stathis. I'm talking about the dangers of immigration in Las Vegas and talking about the issues of building and planning and designing cities and neighborhoods all across the area. You see the video that I made about a few days ago. See, I'm making a difference. I'm going to a clear path. And I'm working well with my stock market investments to raise enough capital to show to the world that I can do something. And is this a life you want to ruin? Really? Think about that. So I'm here to shake your hand. I'm here to thank you. I'm here to appreciate that everything you've done. But at the end of the day, I don't like your style. I don't like your tone. I don't like your strategy. And your view of this world, I'm very curious because it's not adding up very, very well. Anyway, the point is, the last video was not, the way I see it, to bash you. The last video was to get some answers, to get some information about what you do. But it doesn't seem like you want to do that. I appreciate if you can just stand there and say, hey, let's just sit down, get a cup of coffee, let's just talk. Show me who you are. What do you see in our society as you know it? What do you see the world in terms of a lot of aspects? Economy, life, family, all these different things. Show me who you are. Because your firm doesn't have a telephone number, it doesn't have an office where we could visit. I don't even know who you are exactly, what's your background, how do you look like, are you licensed, Series 6, 7, 63? We don't know that. And so I just want to know who you are, what you do. That was the point of this video and the video made about 2 years ago. But you really don't. And I guess what you want to do is you just want to just view everything as very dismal, very fraudulent, doom and gloom. Everybody's an idiot, I guess. I don't know. Glass half empty. And frankly, I don't want that negativity in my life. I believe that the future is quite bright and more people are waking up to the reality of what's going on. And we will succeed. And a lot of people are. And there's a lot of good signs of that. So, anyway, with all due respect, Mr. Stathis, keep up the good work. Thank you so much. But at the end of the day, to all of you who are following, think twice. Open your minds. Think outside of the box. Because it's a really tough world out there. And I'm going to tell you what I do. I hardly trust anybody in this world. An assembly member in our Nevada state legislature just called me. It was missed about a couple of hours ago. I don't know if I can trust him. Anyway, thank you so much, everybody. Best of luck to you. Please share this video. And in case if anything happens to me, if I get legal documents or whatever, please dare to defend me. I just hope that doesn't happen. But if it does, maybe you made some videos about, I remember a while back ago, this woman on Russia Today, you said you're going to punch her lights out. So if you want to do that, maybe I can contact her and I can build allies. But honestly, I just hope you don't. I really am asking you, please, don't consider taking action like that. And I just don't view you as an enemy. I don't view you as bashing you for my self-interest. I'm just curious about what you do. And I really think that, believe it or not, we have a lot of common ground when you think about it. I think we should work together and get things done in our society. Frankly, I think you should be proud of me because I have given a lot of views, whether it's the markets, whether it's the society in general, that are pretty similar to you. I'm spreading, the views that some of them that you should appreciate. And I'm young, I'm awake. I'm not like many people in my generation who are misled. I see myself as a good apple. So, if you don't, that's fine. But I'm just going to stay confident. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching. Please subscribe. My name is Cyrus Hojadi, reporting here in Las Vegas, Nevada. Take care.